Hello and welcome to today's YouTube video. Today I'm going to be showing you how to punish bad openings. And my first example is actually going to be in the Caro-Kann as black. It is the opening I recommend to beginners because it's just very simple to learn, very simple to play, and often you can just get great positions because people don't know how to play against it. So yeah, I'm just going to show you an example that I came up with because I've played this opening so many times. I played it up till I was 1600, up from I was like 1100. So yeah, I've definitely played it for a while. And you can get really great positions like almost every game. I used to prefer black just because I played the Caro-Kann. I didn't even really like know that much about the Caro-Kann. It's just because people are really bad against playing against the Caro-Kann. So yeah, main line here, and we're going to be playing d5, and we're going to be playing advance, and we're going to be playing c5. Now, sometimes you'll see people take, but then you just play e6 and try and recapture a pawn here. Nothing to advance there. But actually, very often people won't capture the pawn. The most common response in my experience is actually really bad. It's knight f3. Another common one is bishop to e3, but in both these cases, you just take because you're trading off a c pawn for a d pawn. So you're trading off a flank pawn for a central pawn, which is already good. So yeah, they replace the pawn with a piece. So now you have both center pawns, and they only have one. That's already a plus. Now, essentially what you're going to do here is play e6, and now you're going to target this very weak pawn, because in order to support it very strongly, they have to play f4, which is very weakening to the king. So I just came up with like a quick little example of what is possible. So yeah, they just develop normally, you develop normally. They're not going to take because then that's really bad. Now you just have an amazing center with c takes and c5. You can bring your other knight to this side. Yeah, that's just a very easy position. So taking is bad for white, so they support their pawn with bishop to f4. Another option is maybe knight back to f3, but then you bring in your other knight and try and target this pawn as well. And let's say they just try and get castled. Well, now guess what? Their opening sucks. They're going to play bishop g3, and you're going to win a pawn. And the reason I like taking with a g-pawn here is because the knight is farther away from the center and has more of its squares controlled. But this knight is actually kind of controlling the center. It has like other squares to jump to if you need. And yeah, for example, if they take this knight, and guess what? You replace it with another knight, and you keep a great knight on the c6 square rather than having it on the g6 square. And hey, you're up a pawn, you're literally just going to develop and castle. And I can't really do much for you, too much more for you, I should say, because you have two central pawns, you're up a pawn, you're getting castled, and your position is very solid and amazing. And the reason I'm showing you this is because, like, you can't really prepare for your opponent blunder. You kind of just have to know common ideas and how people will commonly make mistakes and how to punish those. And a great way to learn how to do that is actually playing slow games, because it is harder to punish dubious openings in blitz or faster time controls. So that's also why I recommend playing slower time controls, is because it's just easier to punish your opponents in the opening. And that's honestly how I gained a lot of my rapid rating, is because people are very bad at openings. I think they've gotten better recently because there's so much YouTube content out there that people just absorb it, even if they don't really study it that hard. Yeah, on to my next example, which is as white. And it's an opening I don't recommend for beginners. Chessbrah kind of does for intermediate players, but I've never specialized in this opening, so I don't honestly recommend it. And I'm just going off the recommendation of others that is too complicated for beginners, because there's a lot of like pawn structure, things that you have to understand, and there's a lot of maneuvering you have to do. But yeah, you can play it, you just have to learn a little bit harder of an opening, and it's probably going to be a bit more of a learning curve. Yeah. Anyways, I am talking about the Ruy Lopez, which is a very strong opening, and a lot of grandmasters play this opening from both sides. And the most common and probably the most solid defense is the Berlin defense. It may strike you as a little bit interesting since you're voluntarily doubling your pawns. For example, if I take, I'm gonna be like, the heck, man, I have doubled pawns on move 3. What are you doing to me? But the ideas are actually very, very nice in the Berlin defense. As black, for example, if you take right now, you actually take with the D pawn, opening up your queen, because if knight takes, then you're already losing with queen to d4 fork. You have to go knight back to f3 and take a pawn with a check, queen e2, and you lose castling rights, and it's just not very good at all. So yeah, instead of that, you're supposed to castle, play very principled. By the way, they can't take this pawn because of rook e1, so they have to go either knight back to d6, which is, I'm pretty sure that's a very common draw that grandmasters play, but you're probably going to see this one more often, and yeah, you just win the pawn back. No biggie, you already have a great advantage. Bishop e7, you can even put more pressure on, or just play in the center, very principled. But people often won't take that pawn because they've been told not to by common like chess YouTubers, content creators, that kind of thing. Yeah, bishop to e7, and you're going to support your e-pawn now from it being taken, and to kind of set a little trap because people don't often realize that their e-pawn is hanging in the Ruy Lopez. So literally, they'll just castle, and there's a free pawn. After bishop takes c6, d takes c6, there's no longer this fork of the pawn and the knight because this pawn's supported. Another way you can support it is with knight to c3. So yeah, you can just take, and it's a completely free pawn, and black is kind of screwed because now they have no central pawns. Again, a common theme. People just give up their central pawns. And yeah, it's just a very common blind spot. So honestly, look for pawns in the center that are like very weak. Try and target them. Make sure your own pawns are defended in the center, especially. You definitely want central pawns. And yeah, I mean, you should try and punish your opening. Try and punish your opponent's openings. That's a great way to win games. It's very easy to get a good position in the opening often, and then you just consistently gain rating from that because it's easier to convert a winning position than it is to convert an equal or losing position. That's just how it is. So if you can get a better position early on, you'll just gain rating because first of all, you'll get more used to converting winning positions because you'll have to learn, because you're going to be getting them every game with punishing bad openings, and also you're just going to be better. Like, people are very bad at playing openings if they don't like study the openings. So they'll just be like, oh, I saw this in a YouTube video. Like they saw a YouTuber play it like one time, and then they'll play it and blunder like every single pawn in the game. So yeah, definitely be looking out for free pawns in the center. It's hard to prepare for your opponents to make mistakes since people can make mistakes in basically every way possible, and it's very hard to prepare for that. You just have to understand what to do. It's kind of hard to explain further than that, but try and target weaknesses, watch out for your opponent's blunders, and gain rating. Anyways, don't forget to leave a comment down below, like and subscribe, and as always, I will see you in tomorrow's video.